What's going on, people? I have to do a kind of a part two to this riot and to this response to what the media is portraying. So, first, I want to say, have we forgotten that this is the result of living in an evil world that is built on carnal nature of human beings, greed, power, manipulation, extortion, control? What else do you expect from a world that functions in this kind of nature? Nothing in this world uses the right proper values that promotes people to think of one another as we would think of ourselves. No, it's just this world pushes uh competition, find better ways to defeat one another for the gain of yourself. That is the mantra of a world like this. And I hear people talking about tear down the system, tear down the system. Okay, let's examine that. Tear down the system, but also beg for the same system to respect you, to honor you, to think about you, to care about you. The same system that has never shown that it does, ever. There is no precedent in all of historical account where a government or people in authority cared about people outside of their own personal self-interest. This is the world we live in. It is astounding to me that particularly the Black community, which is very disorganized, that as a collective reject, not just lack, but reject the very values that builds families, that builds brotherly and sisterly love, not love as an emotion, but love as an adherence to order, to respect, to treating one another as we would like to be treated, as adhering to a moral universal standard, which we all know and is evident by our own conscience and by the things that we complain about and the expectations we place on one another. So to see people, I get it, people who have nothing to lose, and that's again, that is part of the vacuum of values in our current society, that people who are dependent on the world to give them something that the world never offered, which is a moral identity or intrinsic value outside of materialism and how the world can exploit and use you. See, that's the issue I have with people who reject the biblical worldview. This world doesn't offer any value intrinsically. So when people expect the world to give them justice, morality, acceptance, that is not, and nor has it ever been, something the world offered people. That comes from people identifying a creator that is holy, that represents justice and morality. And I know people will say, well, what about free will? Free will is simply evidence of life. There could not be life without our ability to make our choices. And see, this is the results of the world that rejects the attributes and divine nature of a creator that actually represents justice, that exposes the sins and wicked nature of man, and gives a moral code that not only exposes us, but gives us the choice to choose against our very selfish and wicked nature. The world rejects that. People who reject the biblical worldview, you finally got the world that you wanted, a world without God, biblically. These are the results of a world that's built on a competitive nature of competition, of exploitation, of greed, of power mongering people who use fear and desperation as tactics of warfare to control the population. This is the results of their tactics of the New World Order being established. They are using this crisis, this civil unrest, just like they used the alleged virus, which was never purified or isolated. They're using these as tools to make people even more fearful, more desperate. But here's the catch, also more dependent on the very people they're complaining about being oppressed by. Stop begging the devil for help and expecting the devil to be nice. You can't have it both ways. You cannot say that the system is evil and wicked, but you expect the system to be something more than evil and wicked. Let's acknowledge the world is fallen into perdition, into evil. I agree. It is ran by people who are pure evil and have no intention of caring for anybody but themselves. And for me, as a biblical worldview, it is a spiritual implication of the nature of this world, ran by evil forces. But see, the biblical worldview gives man a solution against its sin. It offers a solution outside of this world and for death, because death is an inevitability, whether it happened tomorrow or whether it happened 50 years from now or more. It is something that will happen to us all. This world has no solution for the wickedness of man. It has no solutions for the inevitability of death. All it does is put people against each other to have no regard, no conscience about each other in terms of personal gain, in terms of survival. This is the only logical result of a world built on the, how should I say, the wickedness of human nature. This is all we can expect. People protecting their own self-interest. So if someone in a world of, let's take an atheistic worldview where people don't believe in God, what do they have? Natural selection, the survival of the fittest. All right. So without God, what is the determining moral standard that one person's tactics are more are better than another? In a world of everything being preference and opinion, what may be bad for you may be good for someone else, and who and what standard are we using to determine what is good in a godless world? You see, the people in power, the people with all the wealth and the power, what's good for them is to keep people down, is to create an unjust, immoral system where they can oppress people with all kinds of litigation and restrictions. This is good for them. It's not good for us as the people, as the population. But see, this is what happens in a godless world. Evil, senseless, mindless evil will always be a consequence of an evil world ran by evil people. There will be casualties of that the world will use. And yes, just like the world used the civil rights movement of the 1960s to project feminism and alternative lifestyle ideology onto the population, they will use any kind of discrimination and racial injustice to promote any other nefarious agendas, because you're depending on the same evil world that has never proven itself trustworthy or to care about you to enact something that is never done. A just moral code that is reflection, that will be a reflection of love to everyone equally. The world has never offered that. So why people expect that to come from the world, I don't understand. It should come and has always been an attribute of our Creator for those who believe in Him, for those who recognize the nature of God that's written on our hearts and minds, that is biblically written down as a reflection of what we already know is written on the inside of all of us spiritually. See, the Bible is not telling people what they should do. The Bible simply gives us an account of the choices that we make and the consequences of the choices we make. We have freedom to do what we want, but in an evil world, the choices that we make, or even the reactions to living in an evil, fallen, evil world, could bring death sooner than later for some. The question is not when we die, is that are you prepared for death when it does occur? Are you prepared for suffering when you know it's an inevitability in a world like this? The world doesn't prepare you for suffering, it doesn't prepare you for death, and it has no solution for the evil of other people, nevertheless, the evil of yourself. If you're not even aware of the wickedness within yourself that the evil world uses to exploit, manipulate, and control you, then you're already defeated. But to have awareness of the wickedness in yourself, at least you can see how the world uses it, and you can do the best that you can to protect yourself. And does that mean, is that a guarantee that you won't die and suffer? No, it's not. But it is a guarantee biblically that even if you do suffer and die, there is hope, because you understand what the world is trying to hide from you is that your true identity has never been found in this fallen, wicked, burning world. It's always been your creator, who just uses this life as an opportunity for you to seek, find, and know him so that you can have eternal life with him. Now, if you don't have any hope outside of this world, I feel sorry for you, because there is never any hope in this world. If you're thinking that one day a world full of wicked people without God are going to come to a consensus to care about each other, what foundation or what precedence do you have to even expect that? This is a warlike, wicked world built on violence, built on conquest, where the idea of justice, and true love in a world like this came from. I don't understand. I don't understand where people get that ideology. So I just wanted to speak on this just to give people something to think about during these hard times. Yes, it's unfortunate that people die in the way they do, but just understand the world is using this, and not even everything that the media portrays, or even the things we see with our own eyes, exactly what they appear to be. All right? This world has been using the mantra order of chaos, and the Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution as a way to control us for a long time. It's time that we think outside of the parameters of the evil world and start thinking in another way. For me, that is a biblical understanding of the events that are taking place, that are transpiring to create a world that is going to be worse than what we have now. See, tearing down the current system is exactly the plan of these evildoers, so that they can bring in an even more authoritative world of evil, where we have no rights, no free speech, no free thought. It's either you follow the ideology and the mantra of the world, or you die. That is the world that these people are trying to establish, and they're using all the socially engineered crises and even the natural crises of the world to produce this agenda. They're not even hiding it from us. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Peace out, y'all.